Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about the classic cast press. This is a press, the very first press I've ever bought. It's an excellent piece of kit, although it does have a couple of little niggles which could be better. I won't say they annoy me because they don't, but it could be better. The main selling points of this press set is its cast. So instead of being an aluminum press, this is actually a very sturdy cast iron press, so there's very little flex in it. The other thing that I really like about this press, the two major advantages, is that you can seat primers with it, which I think is just wonderful. I mean, I know you get those little hand primes, but you know, when you have a large handle you can apply force, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Do you want to show how that's done?
Yeah, so the Lee Classic Cast Press comes with two primer seating tools, I suppose. One for large primers and one for small primers. And getting them to work is as simple as dropping the tool in, and have it so that it comes forward a little bit, and then you choose the appropriate shell holder.
Yeah, and
for the caliber that you want to.
Yeah, they're caliber specific, and I mean we have 30 of them, but they're more than that.
Yeah. And we do use them all the time.
Yeah.
But it's very simple. It just slots into place like so, and the casing goes in. It's retained by the holder, of course, and then the primer, as you push the handle upwards, just gets pressed in place into the primer pocket and seated, and that's it. And
the main advantage here is that you have two converters, and to switch from small cup to large cup, go 1, 2, ta-da! With something like a rock chucker, you have to get a screwdriver out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really it. I mean, it happens so quick, and so you can just switch over from one thing to another. The other thing about this press, which is excellent, although it is a little bit time-consuming switching, is that instead of just using 7/8 dies, which this thing will do very well, you can also take the bushing out at the top and change to 1 1/4 inch dies, which let you do 50 cal. Now, before my over-eager assistant starts disassembling, I must point out that that ring uses a 1 5/16 wrench.
Which everybody has in their tool.
Who doesn't have that? I mean, who comes up with that? But there you go.
Oh yeah, it's 5/16.
I spent quite a while hunting for that. But after that, you can just untwist the bushing, and then you can also take apart the seating station at the bottom. Now, while you do that, I will chat a little about the positives. The casting is excellent. The other thing which is nice with this press is that the handle is fully adjustable. By letting loose the bolt over here, you can twist the whole handle around and position it where you want. The other thing which is very good, you can switch from right-hand side to left-hand side just by moving this linkage over to the other side. And there are times when I've thrown my right arm out where I just switch it to left-hand side and just carry on. And that's really good. The negatives, the not so positives, are that I have cracked that before. I mean, these presses are really hard, but after too hard, they crack. And the place of weakness that I have had is right up here, right in the middle of that. So you have to, you know, you don't have to go easy, but you mustn't overload it. And I think the main secret here is not to push your dies in too far down. When you, for example, have a seating die, that you don't go a full 1/2 inch down and then keep pressing on it, because because the brass is all the way in the die and the die has nowhere to go, and I think at that stage you might have a good chance at breaking this. The other weak point is unfortunately the linkage. This metal here that they make the linkage out is not very good, and every couple of years or so, when you're putting a lot of strain on it, it does break. And it's a cheap replacement part. I think it's like $3-4, but it is tedious. And I have thought about replacing it with a bit of cut off from a scaffolding pole, but I never got round to it. The last slight niggle I have is that this base, if you look at it, there's about 3 inches between the front of the bench and the rear. And so when you pull the handle with some force, you're putting a lot of strain on a very small area of bench. And as you can see, I've got it mounted on a plate so I can put different presses and tools there. But that's not the first plate that's been off, and I have torn a T-nut straight through some marine ply, just because after a while the ply just can't hold the nut anymore. You know, you rip it straight through. So I wish they'd move the last pin in the rear slightly further back, and then we wouldn't have this issue. So I see you got the 50 cal priming setup done.
Set up, yes, we've got the 50 cal primer set up. It's much larger primers, and that just pops in there. The casing goes on top. You pick out a 50 cal primer, pop into the cup, and then down goes the handle. Quite simple. That's pleasant. And I suppose if you needed to, if you need to seat the bullet head into your 50 cal, then you need to use the bullet seating die, which I have here as well.
You can also get, we also have the Colette neck sizing die, and Lee also do a full sizing die, which are both very good, though not cheap.
No. And then you just place your casing in there, the bullet head, which I haven't got one of, and then
Brexit.
down goes the handle, up goes the ram,
Yeah.
and it's all seated for you.
Yeah. And that leads us to a mod. Now, as you can see, once you get into the wonderful world of seating 50 cals, this handle here is a bit lacking, which is why I myself have made myself this handle, which is quite a bit longer. This is just some 16mm steel rod, and I've just, you know, bent it a bit and threaded at the top, put a little ball on top, and with that you have a lot more power. The only downside, if you do make something like this, and I actually do recommend it, the one downside is that if the handle isn't all the way up, the extra weight will drop the handle and you will pinch your fingers if they are in it at the time. So if you do make one of these, all the way up, please. And disassembly, just very quickly, because I struggled with this. Again, I have a small little steel wire here, I guess, but this little guy here, that one's fake, and if I try inserting my steel wire, it only goes in about that deep, but on the other side I can push it through all the way until it touches the rear of this pin, and I can now hammer using just a normal hammer. I can hammer that pin out, and then with a slightly larger punch, hammer the pin out on the other side, and basically this whole lot just drops down. There's no other way of getting the ram out without taking those two pins out. I've tried several times. The other thing which is worth noting is that as far as lubrication goes on this press, I just use some
some SAE 30.
yeah, lawnmower oil, you know, just sprinkle it on there, a little bit lubricated, up and down it goes, and wipe away the excess. And that's really all there is. You also have this horrible thing. Comes with this goes underneath, like so. You can squeeze at the bottom, and it's meant to catch the primers when you decap cases, but you know, I find that very tatty and horrible, so I don't normally have it on unless I absolutely need to. That's it. That is our Lee Classic cast press in a nutshell. Final closing words.
I think, amazingly, this press gets used just about every day.
Yeah, and we have very good kit. I also have the Lee turret press, which is also has a cast iron base. But this thing here, I use that 10 times to each time I use the other one. I mean, it's just the simplicity of it all. And the fact that you can do 50 cal with it, I mean, it's just wonderful. Yeah, you just bring it out, sit down with it, feels like coming home and, you know, churn some stuff out. I mean, if you have a few thousand rounds to load, I think there are better options. But if you are starting up or you want to do precision ammo, I've not been let down by this press. So I think that's it from us, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.